Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair for joining today. I'm going to give everyone a little bit of time to get settled. Please go ahead and share the thread. Please go ahead and send it to your friends, family members. Start a watch party if you'd like. Invite people to sit next to you in the spirit of Jum'ah, in the spirit of Friday that we are trying to maintain. And then we'll start in just a minute, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Farouk. Alaikum salam. Once again, please go ahead and share the feed. Share it on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, so that others are also able to join in. And we will go ahead and get started. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له هو الأول والآخر هو الملك القدوس السلام هو الرحمن الرحيم وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله الله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على الحبيب المصطفى وعلى آله وصحبه ومن ولا وارض عنا معهم بفضلك وكرمك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم آمين. All praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All credit and acknowledgement are due unto our Lord, our maintainer, our sustainer, our creator. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who blesses us with every opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who brings us to every challenge. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who allows us to see the ways through which we are blessed and then blesses us beyond our ability to see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who opens our eyes and our ears and our minds to the wonders of this world, to the wonders of the universe, and He opens our hearts to the wonders of faith, to the wonders of spirituality, to the wonders of all that He does for us. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send His peace and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallim, and upon his family members, his companions, his followers, and all of the men and women that walk in his footsteps, who adhere to his path. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would make each and every one of us among them. Allahumma ameen. Brothers and sisters, on this blessed day of Jum'ah, this Friday, the day that has been selected for us as Muslims, I greet you with the greeting of our beloved Nabi, the greeting of our deen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It feels a little odd. It feels weird. Typically, we, of course, I try to maintain the same routines of Jum'ah that I usually have, but at least for the last few weeks, I have not been giving khutbah. We've been blessed with the opportunity to listen to Imam Aziz with his inspiring words. But this one is a little different because now I was asked to actually deliver the message as well. And, it feels a little bit more like my typical Friday routine, having given khutbah for so long now, so many weeks in a row, so many months in a row. At the same time, I still miss the audience. I still miss the ability to see people, to greet them at the door. And so when I was seeing people sending their salams, I felt happiness in my heart and the desire to respond. So assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam to each and every one of you. We take that greeting for granted, right? We just say it sometimes. We just let it out, or we forget to say it sometimes. Either way, it just kind of slips from our tongues or it slips from our minds. and now we really truly feel the love in that greeting. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would soon give us the opportunity to say Assalamu alaikum to each other's faces, and to hug each other, and to embrace each other as we say it, and to never take those words and that greeting for granted. Afsh salam, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, spread the greetings. So I spread those greetings to you, and I encourage you in the feed, to make sure that you spread those greetings to each other as well. And in that spirit, by the way, of staying in contact with each other, staying in touch with each other, and greeting each other, one of the things that myself and the team at Tarbiyah we've been doing, along with getting busy, getting busy with the programs and bringing everything online, preparing things for the coming weeks and months. One of the things that we made sure that we would do every single day is to at least call a few people and just greet them and check on them and see how they're doing. Let them know that that I personally am thinking of them, and if I haven't called you yet, don't worry. I inshallah I plan to soon. I did prioritize a little bit. I prioritized those elders and those brothers and sisters that I felt were either living alone without family, or were more susceptible to the troubles of this time. And so in one of those phone conversations, I was chatting with a brother. Brother is living by himself, and I wanted to just make sure he was doing well. And as we were talking, he started to ask me about what our plans were for Ramadan, and starts asking about Taraweeh and all of these other things. And it started to sound to me like he had not fully comprehended the fact that Ramadan was just actually a few days away. This is about a week ago. Ramadan is just a few days away now. And I realized that it hadn't dawned on him that, because Ramadan is so close, unless there is some miracle of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have full faith in Allah's ability to do whatever He wills, kun fayakun, we would most likely be experiencing the month of Ramadan and its blessings at our homes, but not at the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not at the masajid. We would not be able to see each other and pray with each other like we typically expect. And so I quickly debated in my head, should I be the one to break this news to him, or should I just let him go on in his bliss? And I couldn't just let him be ignorant. And maybe I'm breaking the news to you too, right? Most likely, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be greeting and receiving the month of Ramadan in our homes, but not at the masajid. This is a fact, unfortunately. And for those of you who are new, welcome. But this is a very strange time. This is a very different kind of Ramadan. And I felt that really bothered this brother. And I tried to console him. I reminded him that does not mean we will not be fasting and we will not be praying Taraweeh. We will be doing those things. That does not mean that we will give up our acts of kindness and charity. We must increase those acts and those demonstrations of faith. That does not mean that we will not facilitate and foster a deeper connection with the divine. We have to do those things. Absolutely, we will. We will not let that stop us. But to add to that, it does not mean that we will not have community activities, right? We have to take advantage of the tools. We will have nightly khatiras that Imam Aziz will be delivering. We will have qiyams, for example, even though they'll be digital. We will have activities for the young children and gatherings for the youth that are still safe and digital, perhaps, using our tools, but we won't let it stop us. This is what I'm telling the brother. Still, he asks me this question that, I really felt the question in my heart. He said, Brother Kamran, how will the community survive? The community needs Ramadan. The community needs this blessed month to be together. How will the community survive? And, it reminded me of an ayah in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Ankabut, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do they think that once they have uttered the word, the phrase, I believe, once they have claimed that they have faith, that they will be left alone and not be tested? وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ صَدَقُوا وَلَيَعْلَمَنَّ الْكَافِرِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests us. He puts us through that test after we have faith, so that it becomes clear which of us actually sincerely has that faith in our heart and which of us have not developed that faith in our hearts. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to extend faith deep into our hearts. Now, this is, one layer that we need to come to terms with, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests people in order to test their faith, right? You don't just say, I believe, and you're off the hook. But it's more than just about being tested, brothers and sisters. It goes beyond that, right? And that comes to us actually from a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where he said in this famous hadith, عِظَمُ الْجَزَاءِ مَعْ عِظَمِ الْبَلَاءِ. The greatest of rewards come with the greatest of tests and tribulations. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ إِذَا أَحَبَّ قَوْمًا ابْتَلَاهُمْ. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a people, let me not mince words here. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a people, He tests them, brothers and sisters. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a nation, a community, He tests them. And that is exactly what we are feeling. That is exactly what we are experiencing as we head into the month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's test, reminding us of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. And although in this world, on this earth, we may be feeling the difficulties and trials of that test, and I ask Allah to make that easier on you, know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love in the heavens has a different manifestation than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's test and His love in this world. We may be experiencing tests in this world, but as the Prophet ﷺ teaches us in another hadith, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves somebody, He calls Jibreel. And He says to Jibreel, Ya Jibreel, I love this person, so you love that person as well. And so Jibreel alayhi salam, the archangel, the deliverer of the Quran, loves that individual. And he goes to the dwellers of the heavens and he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this individual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves so-and-so, so you too should love so-and-so. And those that dwell in the heavens, they also love that individual. And in the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ continues that when that love is in their hearts for that individual, ثُمَّ يُوضَعُ لَهُ الْقَبُولُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That person will even find acceptance throughout the world. Not that that person will find ease, or that person will never be tested, or will never struggle, but regardless of that person's circumstances, he or she will find acceptance, right? She'll find acceptance and contentment. My brothers and sisters, in order to truly understand how we are going to not only survive but thrive in this coming month of Ramadan, we have to get this in our heads first. We have to get this understanding in our heads that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love is manifesting on us and on our community in this world as a test, and in the heavens, inshaAllah, as a sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love and the love of all those that dwell in the heavens. Now, I also want to make a point, brothers and sisters, that when the question is posed, how will we as a community survive this Ramadan? The community needs Ramadan. We need to see each other. We need to greet each other. We need to pray with each other. We need to have iftar together. Absolutely, we love to do those things. But remember, brothers and sisters, that our ummah is a sturdy ummah. Our ummah is a resilient ummah. Our ummah has been through immense test after immense test throughout our history. We have seen difficult days, brothers and sisters, and we have not only survived, we have thrived. We have thrived, right? And you can think of the most difficult of times that the ummah has went through and see in all of those dark days, beacons of light in the ummah shining through. And today I wanted to share with you the story of one of those beacons of light. You see, sometimes in the Quran, you find stories of people, right? There are some people you find them mentioned in the Quran. Today, brothers and sisters, I want to talk to you about an individual who you find the Quran in this person. You see what I'm saying here? Some people are mentioned in the Quran, while some people you find the Quran in them. This is that particular kind of individual. Let me give you a little bit of context here for this individual. He's born and he lives in the time frame when one of the greatest trials had struck the Muslim community, the Muslim ummah worldwide, by the way, worldwide, and that was the invasion of the Mongols. The Mongols had invaded, many years before he was born. and he was born into this, circumstance, and he lived under this constant fear, as the Ummah did. Remember, by the way, many people at that time thought that the Mongols were actually Ya'juj Ma'juj, and this is the end of the world. And they had just completely, many of them had just, completely given up on any future, right? But that was not the way of this individual, and that's not the way that we learn from the Quran and from the Sunnah, right? And so this particular individual lives in that context. And to add to that, he was living in the city of Damascus, which is in modern day Syria, and the Mongols had arrived at the gates of Damascus. Now, note something, by the way. By this point in the history of the Mongols, many of them are actually starting to accept Islam. And even though they are nominally becoming Muslim and claiming faith, they're still committing immense atrocities against the Muslim, public, right? They're still on this quest for political dominance of the world. And so this individual is at the gates of Damascus, and people, it's fresh in people's minds what had happened to another one of the great cities of Islam in Baghdad, right? And they're so terrified that people are starting to flee the city. And so this particular individual, he's young, he's an upstart, kind of like outspoken imam. His name is Imam Taqiyuddin Ahmad. And Imam Taqiyuddin, he stands up on the pulpit one of those Fridays that the Mongols are outside of the gates of Damascus, and he gives this incredibly impassioned khutbah, this incredibly strong khutbah, telling people that not only do we have a responsibility to stay in our city, we have a responsibility to defend and protect our lands. We have a responsibility to stand up to those Mongols and those tyrants. And he gives this impassioned speech, and then after he gives this speech, he actually plans to go and meet with one of those Mongol rulers by the name of Ghazan, in order to negotiate, or to at least confront him with what he's doing, right? This particular individual, by the way, he's more famously known, Imam Taqiyuddin Ahmad is more famously known as Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, one of the most prolific scholars in Islamic history, one of the most well-written, he's published more than so many other scholars. He's one of the most recognizable names when you talk about scholars of Islam. At this time, he's a young kind of upstart imam, and he's, he cannot stand the fear of these Mongols. Imam Taqiyuddin, he represents this kind of incredible resolve, this kind of strength of the strength and courage that really, it goes beyond courage. It goes beyond just bravery, right? And so after this khutbah, a little bit later, he actually goes and confronts the Mongols and their rulers. And he says to them, how could you call yourself Muslims? And here you are engaging in these kind of atrocities nonetheless, and invading the cities of Islam. How are you going to call yourself Muslims, right? And those that had accompanied Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, they were sure that, some of them report that they were sure that he was going to be killed right there, but he wasn't. And he did not fear anybody. And this is actually, the first quality that we want to take from Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, like I said, his incredible resolve. By the way, every quality that I list for you today is going to start with an R. We have 3 R's that we're going to go over. The first one is resolve. And it's exemplified in the statement that he makes later on. He says, anyone who fears a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there is an illness in his heart. He does not know his Lord. Anyone who fears any creation, that creation being an immense invading force or a microscopic organism, we do not fear those things. We only have fear with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that gives us bravery, courage, and resolve over everything else. The second point that I want to draw from the life of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah is his remembrance. Number 1 was resolve. Number 2 is remembrance, brothers and sisters. And this is the root of spirituality. Now, a lot of these reports, they come to us about Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, they come to us from one of his students, Ibn al-Qayyim. And so he says that one of those days, I actually went to see him in the morning, and I found him in the masjid. It was after Fajr time, and he is just there. He's making dhikr. He's repeating some of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and some du'as, engaging in this dhikr. And so I sat down and I waited, and it went on for a while, until finally he finished, and he turned to me and he let me know, this dhikr, this is my daily meal for my soul. This is how I feed my soul every day. This is the, what my soul eats. And doesn't that remind us of Ramadan, right? Ramadan is when we stop eating for our stomachs so that we feed our souls. He did this on a daily basis, this kind of afkar. He says that if I don't do this, then I cannot engage in the daily activities that I normally do. I'm not able to do anything else, productively. I need this early morning dhikr, right? One of those times, by the way, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah found himself in jail many times. By the way, his jailers were often Muslims, right? Not just the Mongols, but even the Muslim rulers. He didn't fear anybody, and so he said what he wanted to say. He said what he thought was right without fear of being imprisoned or anything else. And so one of those times, he and his student Ibn al-Qayyim ended up in prison. And Ibn al-Qayyim reports that in the middle of the night, I would wake up and he's up praying and he's in sujood and he keeps saying this dua, Allahumma a'inna ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husni ibadatik. Oh Allah, help us to remember you and to be grateful to you and to engage in the best kinds of worship of you. In the middle of the night, he's praying tahajjud, which is one of the best forms of worship, and he is asking Allah, Ya Allah, help us to engage in better worship of you. Right? So this is the second R. It's remembrance, resolve, and now we said remembrance. And about remembrance, Ibn Taymiyyah, he says, dhikr to the heart is like water to the fish, right? And what happens when the fish is out of water? Like flailing around, searching anywhere. And that's what happens to our hearts when we are taking them out of dhikr. They flail and they search for anything that would replace it. But really, the only thing that can replace dhikr is dhikr, right? So we have resolve, we have remembrance, and the third R that we're going to take from the life of Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, is radiance. Radiance, like light and brightness. And this is the kind of radiance that goes beyond just optimism, right? Optimism, you turn any situation into a positive situation. You look for the best in things. Radiance is even further beyond that, right? It's the kind of quality of an individual that regardless of their circumstances, they are still radiating with the light and the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in their face. And this, we pick this up from his student Ibn al-Qayyim, who says that when we were, we would see our teacher in prison multiple times. And when we would become sad for his circumstance, what is happening to him and why he keeps getting targeted and oppressed like this, we would go to visit him in the prisons. And when we went there, he would be the one to cheer us up, right? This is the kind of radiance that he had. See how it goes beyond optimism. And he says, Ibn al-Qayyim describes Ibn Taymiyyah, he says that when we saw him, we would see in him nadratun na'im. Nadratun na'im is from the ayah in the Quran, in Surah Al-Mutaffifin. تَعْرِفُ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ نَضْرَةَ النَّعِيمِ. You will recognize those special individuals by the kind of radiance that is, in their faces, the kind of radiance that they are blessed with. Nadratan na'im, right? This is how he was described, again, by one of his students. Now, this radiance also leads us to one of the most famous statements of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah. And this was soon after he had been sentenced to, go to prison again. And he turns to his student and he says to him, what can my enemies do to me? What are they going to do to me? If they imprison me, then this will be for me khalwa. It will be like a private, sanctified time between me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If they execute me, then this for me will be shahada. I will be martyred. They'll give me what I want. I will be a martyr in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for doing what I know is right. And if they exile me, then it will be siyaha. Then it will be me, my opportunity to travel the world, my opportunity to see the beautiful creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It'll be tourism for me. It'll be tourism for me. So this is how he expresses, his understanding of what his enemies could do to him. It's nothing, right? He says, what can my enemies do to me when my Jannah is in my heart, right? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me at all times, right? My brothers and sisters, these three R's, which we said they were remembrance, resolve, and radiance. My brothers and sisters, I would describe these three as the fruits from the tree of Taqwa. These are fruits from the tree of taqwa. If taqwa is a tree that is planted in our hearts, nourished in our hearts, and grows, particularly nourished in the month of Ramadan, then the fruits that that tree bears, they are remembrance, they are resolve, and they are radiance. Are those not fruits that you and I would want? Particularly in the coming month of Ramadan. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and this is the ayah quoted every single time Ramadan is around the corner, right? Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed fasting upon us in this particular month of Ramadan so that we may attain this taqwa. My brothers and sisters, we have been experiencing Ramadan after Ramadan after Ramadan, at least most of us have. Those trees of taqwa have been planted in our hearts. Even if outside of the month of Ramadan we are not as diligent, at least when Ramadan comes around, we water that tree, we nourish that tree, we make sure that that tree of taqwa in our hearts is healthy again, and that taqwa lasts us throughout the year, right? But what if the trees of taqwa have not been bearing fruit? What if the trees of taqwa have not been bearing fruit the way that we need them to be bearing fruit? What if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala this year is intervening? What if He is intervening right before the month of Ramadan because this year He wants to be 100% certain with us? He wants to increase our chances that we would reap and harvest the beautiful fruits from the tree of taqwa. Those fruits being remembrance, those fruits being resolve and radiance. My brothers and sisters, it is absolutely true. Ramadan is coming. Ramadan is right around the corner. Next Friday, we will be in a state of fasting. Absolutely. And typically, the Jum'ahs, the khutbahs before Ramadan are in a celebratory mode of Ramadan is coming and how we are decorating the houses of Allah and how we are getting together and celebrating the arrival of this honored guest. Ramadan is still coming this year, just a little bit different. Just a little bit different, my dear brothers and sisters. And here's what I want you to think about. Number one, we say that Ramadan is a training ground, right? It trains us for the rest of the year. It fortifies us. It strengthens us. Well, perhaps this year, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decided that we need our training to be a little bit different. We have another weakness that we have been neglecting, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to focus on that weakness this year. So the training will happen. Ramadan will come. Allahumma ballighna Ramadan. But it'll be a little bit different. What if, my dear brothers and sisters, this year, the season of harvest, that we always call Ramadan a season of harvest, right? What if this year, that season of harvest will come, but the fruits that we harvest this year will be a little bit different? What we will harvest, what we will collect from the month of Ramadan will be a little bit different because that's what we need, right? At the end, isn't our rizq from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Now this year, we maybe needed something a little different. Ramadan is coming, and we always talk about Ramadan as an honored guest, right? And we beautify our masajid, and we get together in celebration. We have, rallies to welcome the month of Ramadan. This time around, brothers and sisters, perhaps Ramadan is coming as a little more of a secret guest. Ramadan is coming instead of in a grand parade. Ramadan comes to us in a little more low-key, kind of intimate way. This year, my brothers and sisters, Ramadan is not coming in a grand parade, but rather it is knocking at each and every one of our doors. Rather than receiving Ramadan in the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are now receiving Ramadan in our very own houses. And that is a blessing, is it not? We will miss the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will miss our masajid. And we will run to them as soon as we have the opportunity to go back. But right now, we have the opportunity to receive Ramadan in our houses and host them as intimate and private guests. Host Ramadan as an intimate and private guest. Now here we are at the door, and we're fumbling with the locks. We're trying to open the door to let Ramadan in. We're not sure, how do I open this door? How do I get Ramadan inside and make sure that Ramadan stays with me throughout this month? The spirit of Ramadan, the harvest and the opportunity of Ramadan, we're trying to let it in, and we're fumbling at the door. How do we let it in? It's actually something we all know, brothers and sisters. With our prayers, we maintain and we keep up our prayers. And if we've been struggling, we make sure that we strive extra hard. We make sure that we maintain the spirit of Taraweeh and we pray at home, either by ourselves or with our families, however it works. We make sure that we maintain our Taraweeh. We fast, brothers and sisters. It's a fard, absolutely. But we don't just fast from not eating food. We fast as we do every month, in every single way, in our eyes and in our ears. We fast with every single ounce of who we are, right? We ensure that that fast is bringing us to a higher state of existence. That's how we open the door for Ramadan. We read the Quran, brothers and sisters. We read the Quran, remembering that the very first Ramadan with the Quran was with the Prophet ﷺ. And we maintain that Quran and that spirit of recitation throughout the month. Whether we have a beautiful qari leading us in prayer, or we have to recite at our homes and we struggle with the words, we recite the Quran and we internalize the message of the Quran. We maintain our charity, brothers and sisters. This is how we let Ramadan in this year. We make sure that this is a time, not that we decrease the amount of sadaqah that we are engaged in. This is a time that we increase. No matter what our circumstances, we find ways to give of ourselves. We find ways to sponsor those in need. We find ways to continue to contribute to the houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We find ways that we continue to contribute to good causes. We do not let that stop. And we make dua, brothers and sisters. That is how we let Ramadan in this year. We make dua. We raise our hands and we shed tears. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala about all of the things that have been ailing us, all of the struggles that we have had, all of the hopes and dreams that we have in our hearts. We make dua, brothers and sisters. This is how we open the door and we let Ramadan in this year. Will you open the door? Ramadan is knocking, brothers and sisters. Will you open the door? I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we would open the doors to let Ramadan into our houses. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we would be an ummah that is able to reap the harvest of this month, that we would continue to be a sturdy and strong, resilient ummah. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would allow us to collect the fruits from the tree of taqwa this month of Ramadan. Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Oh Allah, we have been making dua to you. We have been asking you to bring us Ramadan, and you have changed the game on us. You have brought Ramadan directly to us and into our homes. Ya Allah, I ask that you make it a source of blessing, and I ask that you end this pandemic sooner than later so that we can go back to your houses, Ya Allah. We ask that you let us back to your houses. Allahumma ameen. Brothers and sisters, Jazakallah khair for joining. I have some very important announcements that I want to make. I ask you to please join for those because they're all about our Ramadan programming and you want to know what's going on. And then we will conclude, inshallah. So let me just pull those announcements up right now. The first of the announcements is to please continue to support TarbiyaLive. You can do that as we take our programs online, as we build our new masjid. Our construction in Roseville is ongoing. You can support us. Typically this is what I would say, pass the boxes. But there are no boxes, obviously. But you can go to Venmo and look up Tarbiya Institute. You can go to tarbiya.org/foothills, or you can go to live.tarbiya.org/give. By the way, if you really want boxes, make one at home, right? And put something in it every single day or every single Jum'ah. And then when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings us back to His houses, we'll take those boxes to the masjid. Tonight, we asked all of you to join us for a very special Ramadan prep session. Myself, Imam Aziz, Imam Sharif, and Imam Alauddin, our special guest, will be going live at 8 p.m. So it's right after Maghrib prayer at 8 p.m. You can find us, by the way, on these live sessions at, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us, tonight we won't be on Instagram, but at least on Facebook and YouTube. And please do, share that with loved ones as well, so that everyone can help, everyone can get prepared. And we'll have opportunities, by the way, to ask questions, so you can, make sure you come with your questions regarding, any fiqhi issues or anything else that you might need assistance with this month. We are continuing to serve. I mean, this is really incredible. We have 3 very special serve projects, right? we've told you all before about our Rahma Unleashed initiative, where we are collecting, we're getting groceries and supplies for those who cannot go out, who are immunocompromised. We've told you about our Breath of Relief initiative where many sisters in the community and some brothers are actually sewing masks for our healthcare professionals. And now our third project for this TarbiyaLive Serve initiative, we are organizing Ramadan care packages. If you would like to sponsor a package, because we can't sponsor iftars this year, right? So maybe we sponsor a package or multiple packages. Each package costs $100, and it would feed 4 people, a family of 4, for about a month actually. And there are many communities, many community members who are in need, folks that have lost their jobs, folks that are struggling to make ends meet, particularly in the month of Ramadan. Let us make sure that no one misses iftar and no one misses suhoor this Ramadan. You can do that again at live.tarbiya.org/serve, or you can go to tarbiya.org/zakah. Again, you can also go to Venmo and add Al-Misbah in the description. This project is actually a collaboration with Al-Misbah, one of our close organizations that we work with a lot on these kind of efforts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless and reward those brothers and sisters there. We have 2 exciting, really exciting new wellness webinars coming up. The first one will be with Sheikh Yasser of Al-Misbah. He'll talk to us about the community members who are in need. This is on Wednesday at 5:30. And the second one we will have is on Sunday. This first one is coming up on Sunday, and the next one is coming up on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Brother Sajjad Shakur of Falafel Corner will be joining us to share his incredible story, talking about being in prison for 20 years and finding ways to stay productive and to cope with issues, with struggles like solitary confinement. This would be really useful for those of us who are struggling to find structure in our days. He has some really amazing tips to share, and like I said, a really incredible story as well. Also, we are looking forward to our sisters who will join us for our weekly Zoom halaqa. We're calling that the Nights of Noor, led by Ustada Jannah Sultan. You need to register for that. You can do that at live.tarbiya.org. The first one will be next Tuesday at 5 p.m. For a Ramadan prep session. That's a sisters only Zoom halaqa. It's a weekly Zoom halaqa with the sisters. I mentioned to you the breath of relief. We've been making masks. We've made over 200 masks, given them to local hospitals. We're still looking to make more. If you can so, please join our breath of relief effort. Again, all that information is on the website. We have taken our Sunday school program live. For those of you who have children in Sunday school that did not go live, you can join ours as well. More information for that also is on the website or on our Facebook. This Monday, inshallah, we will stream live for story time at 3 p.m. for the young children to tune in. This week, Sister Nevera will be reading It's Ramadan, Curious George, to help the young children get in the spirit of Ramadan. And finally, this is a really important announcement for everybody to take seriously. We are asking everyone in this month to bring your masjid home. Let me give you the clear instructions here. What you should do is you need to find a corner of your home, a room or a corner or a space, and you need to decorate it and beautify it and make it as if it's a small masjid in your home, right? You can make it Ramadan themed, and you can take a picture of that and send it to us. Now, some of the things that should be included in here: space to pray and sit. You need to make sure that you have a screen nearby so that you can tune into our nightly khatiras that we'll be having every single evening, into our children's programs as well, which we'll be having almost every single day. And it's a space where you guys can make sure that you maintain that Ramadan spirit. And this is, you can think of this as like the space where you're housing this beautiful special guest of Ramadan. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring us to the month of Ramadan, to bless us in this month. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to alleviate us from this struggle, this pandemic. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure those who are ill. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect those who are worried about their health. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to find a vaccine, a cure for this illness, and for many other illnesses and ailments that harm and hurt people. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept those who have passed as shuhada. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give peace and tranquility to their families. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our children, our young ones. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to grow closer together as families and as loved ones. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those of you who are living with families to bring peace in times that are difficulty and filled with tension. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are living alone or who are feeling the the struggles of being lonely, to give them ease and to give them companionship to give them his companionship and the companionship of their friends, communication with community members through a variety of means, and also opportunities to be intimate and private and connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instead of feeling the pangs of loneliness. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would accept our dua, that He would accept our efforts, our prayers. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He would accept our fasting and our charity, and that He would help us to increase those in this coming month. Jazakallah khair, brothers and sisters, for tuning in. Please make sure that you go and you pray dhuhr. I encourage you to do so as a family, and join us once again tonight at 8 p.m. on Facebook Live or on YouTube Live for a special Ramadan prep session. We'll see you tonight. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.